Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today to answer a question about what I use instead of aluminum foil for covering different baking dishes when I need to have it covered. So really what it comes down to is finding good baking dishes that have their own lids that you can use. So right here I have a glass Corelle. This is probably pretty old. I got a couple of these that my mom gave me. And so it has a nice lid right here. You can bake soup, chickens, casseroles in these things. And when I stack it, I always, as with all of them, I always invert the lids, so that makes it easy to stack. And then more recently, I invested in some bigger ones like this so I could cook bigger chickens or bigger dishes of things for when we have company, whether it be lasagna or a big pot of soup or some kind of one dish meal. And so again, when I store these, I store them away like this because that makes it easier to stack one on top of the other. So I actually have two of these and I have two of these. And then I also have two of these because these go with my solar oven. And I try to reserve these only for using in the solar oven. And which is why I bought these too, to replace these, because the problem with enamelware is it does wear out. The more you use it, eventually the enamel wears off, and then you got that steel that ends up being exposed and then it rusts. And I've actually worn holes in mine. So I had two more that I had to throw out because of that very reason, because I was using it so much on my wood stove and in my solar oven. And so yes, that's why I invested in these here, and plus they're just bigger and they hold more. And then I have these smaller ones. Now I found a set of two of these at a garage sale years ago, and I fell in love with them. I paid 50 cents a piece for them. They were never used. They were brand new. And I like them so much because a lot of times if I just want to make enough for just me and Patrick and don't want a lot of leftovers, then this is what I'll use. The more I use them, I found I could use one more, so I could have, like, if I wanted three different dishes, like a main course, a potato, and then a vegetable in a separate dish, I had to go hunting for them, and come to find out they're not made anymore. And so I had to go to find another set of them on eBay, which was where I found them. And it was worth the price. I definitely paid more than 50 cents a piece for them, but this is called Megaware and it was made in Spain. And I love these things. But again, they have their own lid. So inverting the lid means they stack very nicely on top of each other. And so yeah, I have a total of 4 of them. The other one I use to set on my counter over here, I dump our expended coffee grounds into, and then I can just cover them up with the lid. And then when that pot gets full, I just go dump it in the garden and make the most of the coffee grounds that way. And then back here, you'll see this is one of the newest additions I have. And this roaster I bought for making really large meals, but most specifically for roasting turkeys. Because the other thing I'd been doing a little at a time was trying to get rid of any baking thing that had aluminum in them, which is another reason to get rid of aluminum foil, is trying to get the aluminum out of our food or prevent so much aluminum exposure to our food. And so I went with stainless steel. Yes, these things are an expense, but over time they're worth it. The stainless steel is going to last longer, especially than something like this, and it's going to look nicer for longer. And the money you save not using aluminum foil, even if you're washing it in between, it still only has so many uses before you have to toss it, which I used to do that. But something like this where I've got a dedicated lid is perfect. So these all work great on my wood stove or in my range on the rare times that I use my range. Like usually I'll go ahead and do the turkey in the range, but I can roast turkeys in this on my wood stove. There is just enough room for me to do that, so it's great. But I do have one problem I come up against. When we don't have fires going in the wood stove, then I'm more apt to use my toaster oven, because in the summertime, I can run the toaster oven easily off of our solar power, or even if we don't have a lot of solar power, the toaster oven is still going to draw less power than the range here because it's bigger and it just takes more to heat it up. So I prefer to use my toaster oven. The problem with that is except for these will fit in there just fine with their lids on, but none of these, even the smaller one here, when I have the lid, in place like this, that handle at the top prevents it from fitting properly into the toaster oven. Now, some things, if it's shallow enough, I can invert the lid like that, but it has to be pretty shallow. And so that usually the lid ends up taking up too much space when I do that. So I've never had the opportunity to do that. And it doesn't matter which one I use. So the handle plus the fact that it's convex like this, or concave when you turn it this way, takes up too much room in the pot. So in that case, what I do, so I can still avoid using foil, is I will simply use a Corelle plate. And as long as you're not getting your oven too hot, and most of the things I'm baking like that are 350 at the hottest, so this is perfect. You just don't want to go over 350 degrees, but you can bake with Corelle plates like this. And all of these will fit onto the pots like this, and then I can fit it easily into my toaster oven. Here, I can do the same thing here. It's wider, but because of this here, it fits in there without jostling around too much. But if I'm doing a chicken and having the plate like this is still just, the chicken just kind of comes up just enough where it's not, where it's going to bump up against the plate, then I simply turn the plate that way. And it works perfect as a lid, and it still fits inside of my toaster oven, no problem. And so that's how I prevent having to use foil. And then when it comes to any other kind of dish, if it's a dessert that I would be baking that you'd have to have covered, then I'm going to bake it in one of these instead of using a square pan or a rectangular pan. I'll use a round pan instead, because I don't have, though I'm sure you can find square baking dishes or rectangular baking dishes that have some kind of glass, ceramic, or even stainless steel top. I don't have anything like that, so I just stick with the round ones. I mean, who cares what shape it is as long as it tastes good and looks good. So that's what I do. So it's pretty simple. And I don't ever have to use aluminum foil. Yes, I still keep aluminum foil on hand because it can come in handy for other purposes, but it very rarely gets used. Just like the plastic wrap I have, I keep that on hand. So if I'm sending something home with someone, I can wrap that up and not have to worry about getting my silicone covers or whatever else back from them. And so they don't have to worry about getting it returned. So that's why I do like to keep stuff like that on hand. But for here around the house, this is stuff that very rarely ever gets used. So if you're interested in what I do to replace plastic, like I mentioned, the silicone covers and other things, and the plates come and play for that too, because you can use these plates on top of bowls, and then you can stack them. They're great for that. So I cover all that in a video that I did last year that I'll go ahead and link to down below if you'd like to check that out. So if you're looking at a way to save money and not have so much going out in your trash, to me, this is the way to go. It's going to be an investment up front for some of these things, but in the long run, it will save you money. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and any other ideas or suggestions you'd like to put down below in ways that you save money by not having to use aluminum foil. What do you do to replace aluminum foil in your kitchen? All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.